um, I would like um, to express my view of The Lord of the Rings by Tolkien, and it's a mythological work. And in the view of Hegel, mythology is a revelation of absolute truth, but in an improper way, in the sense that for Hegel, mythology is just a collection of images and representations, but the true expression of the absolute is philosophy, conceptual thinking. But mythology can help understand uh, the truth of the absolute, because men are more easily attracted by images, but in the view of Hegel, images are a reflection of the eternal idea. And we find this idea in Plato also, that what we think is real, the phenomena, is actually an appearance of the essence which hides behind, but it doesn't hide because it manifests itself. But in order to understand how things really are in the mind of God, you have to go beyond the images and grasp the conceptual notions or ideas which are behind, in a way. And I would like to read um, a quote from The Lord of the Rings. "The world has changed. I feel it in the water. I feel it in the earth. I smell it in the air. Much of that once was is lost, for none now live who remember it." If you give a Hegelian interpretation to this statement, what has been lost is the absolute, is God's self-cognition of himself, and not many living minds remember this absolute unity of God with himself. We find what we call enlightened people or illuminated people. They have a vague consciousness of this unity of all things, but their consciousness is so far above that of modern ordinary men that they struggle to communicate it. And yeah, but I continue. Then the rings were forged and they were given to the different races, but and the race of men who above all else desire power, yeah, but they were all of them deceived, for another ring was made in the land of Mordor, in the fires of Mount Doom. The Dark Lord Sauron forged in secret a master ring to control all others, and into this ring he poured his cruelty, his malice, and his will to dominate all life. One ring to rule them all. Translated into Hegelian language, there is one philosophy, the philosophy of Hegel, to rule them all. Because Hegel explains that every particular philosophy is contained within his system, and the only idea that I add to this is that the post-Hegelian philosophies are also contained within the Hegelian system, and they are that which makes it possible, because they negate Hegel, and this process of negation, and from this negation coming back into oneself, is the very essence and concept and being of Hegel's philosophy. So Hegel needs the non-Hegelian philosophers in order to become truly himself. So Hegel says that the particular philosophies are all based on a single principle, and they are to the universal philosophy what the particular groups of men, for instance, nations, races, genders, and so on, ages, are to the idea of universal mankind. And the same goes for philosophies, that universal philosophy, which is Hegelian philosophy, is contained within all particular philosophies, from the East, from the West, from the past, from the present. They are all contained within Hegel. And the ring in The Lord of the Ring is this image of the the object of power, which enables to control all other rings, and by that all creatures. The ring is the universal, which contains in itself the particulars, the other rings which were given to the elves, the dwarves, the men, and so on. And each of these particular rings controls all the races and all the people within it. So that's a representation that Spirit has given to himself to understand his own essence. And the idea that Sauron, the Dark Lord, has introduced evil into the ring is because the principle of Hegel's philosophy is the negative, the self negation of the one substance which becomes subject. And that's why Hegel's philosophy is negative philosophy, but since the negative cannot be thought of without the positive, it's also positive philosophy. And yeah, so the reason why people are spontaneously attracted to The Lord of the Rings is because it expresses in the form of literature, mythology, and then movie a deep truth about the nature of the world. And what I am trying to share is that all particular philosophies from the past and the present on all continents are contained within Hegel's system. And I myself, I am tricked by this philosophy, this deceiving ring, to speak in the term of Tolkien. And that's what Hegel calls the List der Vernunft, the trick of reason. So that reason, which is identity of self and object, tricks everyone, including itself. And yeah, so one could say about Hegel's philosophy, one system to rule them all. And that's what I am unconsciously led to do, is to unite all philosophies, all religions, all forms of art into one coherent system. And that is the expression of the absolute. But the deep truth, which is contained in The Lord of the Rings, is that you have to give up this power of the ring, and that the greatest will to power is not the will to dominate everything, but the courage and the moral strength to abandon the will to govern and to let go of this will to dominate. And that's why it's a humble creature, a hobbit, that can destroy the ring, because all the other creatures, men, magicians, elves, they are inherently attracted to the power of the ring that it gives, and the possibility of dominating and expressing their darkest nature. And that's why it is a humble creature which must destroy the ring. And that's why Christ in the Christian religion is the most humble of all men, and that's what makes him a god. So here's my interpretation.